Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome. We're holding now at the beginning of Torah Chav Dalet 24 about the Inyan of Simcha, Mitzvah Gedolei Lias V'Simcha, and we'll just tell ourselves a quick little wrap up of the way that we finished off last week and this idea that we came out. So we said that that there's this aspect of atzus. How do we pull our atzus, our sadness, into simcha? How do we do it? Right? And we had this amazing idea. It's not easy, when you get sad. Like how do you make sense of it all, and how do you actually do it? So we had this amazing idea. We said that when there's an oil spill in the ocean, and you hear that there's millions of liters of oil spilling into the ocean, and it sounds catastrophic, and you're like, we're never going to be able to swim in the ocean again. What are we going to do? Right? And then, you go back to that same place a year later, and birds are chirping, fish are swimming, the oil spill is gone. What happened? It's because the ocean is so huge and so powerful that even those millions of liters of oil that spilled into the ocean are usurped by the ocean, are taken in, are absorbed, let's say, and nullified within the ocean, right? Because the ocean is so big and so gigantic. So too with our simcha. If we're able to every single moment of the day, as much as possible, be happy and not take for granted all of the amazing things that we have, and the ability to see and the ability to hear, that we can wake up and we can stand up straight. My back doesn't hurt today, Baruch Hashem. It hurt all last week, right? Oh, I can breathe nicely. I had a cold last week, right? And now I don't take it for granted, because last week my back hurt. Now the fact that I feel my back is okay, what a simcha. I'm not taking anything for granted. And when I don't take anything for granted, and I appreciate every moment, and I appreciate every person that I'm connected with, and I thank Hashem for these amazing people I get to be with, and that we have a roof over our heads, and we have food, and we have all these things. There's so many things to be happy about. We have an ocean of happiness. And once we have an ocean of happiness, then, an ocean of simcha. Once we have an ocean of simcha, then when something comes in and brings in something a little dark, when we have a moment of atzvus and mar shachar, of sadness, right? And instead of trying to leave it to the side and not think about it, we bring it in. What happens? It can become melted within. It can become nullified within our gigantic ocean of simcha that is really our whole entire lives, right? This is what the Rebbe told us to do. And we're going to see some other ideas today as to how this comes out in such a special way, to do with music a little bit, right? And to do with other things. But so let's go now to the beginning of Torah Chav Dalet, which we started last week. Mitzvah Gedolei Lias B'Simcha Tamid. It's a great mitzvah to be b'simcha always. And we said the fact that the Rebbe tells us it's a great mitzvah means that there's a real pull the other way. And therefore we have a mitzvah to be b'simcha. And the fact that he says that it's tamid, it's always, it means, you know what that means? It means that we can do it always. It's always an opportunity, it's always an option. And we can always do it. It's there for us, we can do it. To strengthen ourselves. Why do we have to? We're going to need it. We need to strengthen ourselves. It's a job to distance the sadness and the bitterness, the depression, whatever you want to call it, with all of our strength. B'kol koicha. But he says the last two words are important. B'kol koicha, with all of one's strength. With all of one's strength. So we're going to get into this. We're going to see. Okay, so we talked about that last week. Let's go now. V'chol ha'cholas habayin ala adam. We're now going to talk about this idea, this amazing, wonderful idea that our state of happiness affects our body and our health. Not only does it affect our mind and our emotional, psychological state, but it actually affects our body and our health. So the Rebbe says, "B'chol ha'cholas habayin ala adam." All illnesses that come on a person, kulam ba'im rak mikukla simcha. They all come only from a deficiency, let's say, in simcha, or a destruction of simcha, destruction of happiness. Ki yesh asare minei negina Shem b'chinas simcha, because we've talked about this many times, there are 10 aspects or types of song that are all an aspect of simcha. Song, music, right? When we play music and we sing and we dance, this is simcha. He's not necessarily, he sort of brings a proof from a pasuk, but without the proof. Let's say, we know this. When you put on music, it brings you simcha, it makes you happy, it gives you something. You know, someone asked me this during the Sphira period where we're not allowed to listen to music. They said to me, listen, you know what, I'm doing some work and I just like to have some music in the background. It's just like calm music, you know, it's just like, it's there, but I'm not listening to it for simcha. I just want it in the background, it just helps me to be able to work better, right? So one of the things that came out from the discussion I had with this person is that, but you see, that music is doing something for you. It's putting you at ease. It's putting you in a state of mind where you're comfortable, where you feel good and you're able to work, right? Even that type of music. Music does something to us. Certainly, when it's happy music and it's music that makes us sing along, that makes us dance, right? It really has an effect on us. So that's like without a proof from a verse, from a pasuk. We all know this. This is what music makes us happy. Oh, my children, by the way, especially one of my boys in particular who just walked by, but my other boy also, their lives are constantly being soundtracked with music. Like they love music. They listen to music all the time, right? And it really, really is a big help for them. It's very special. Anyway, but the Rebbe says, I'll even show you a pasuk how we can see this. We say this pasuk every Shabbos, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, right? Toiv L'Hoides L'Hashem. It's good to thank Hashem, L'Zamir L'Shimcha Elyon, and to sing to His great name, to His supernal name. And then L'Hagid B'Beker Chesdecha, tell over in the morning, His kindnesses. V'Emunascha B'Aleles, and His emunah in the nighttime. Then the pasuk says, Ale Asor. It says on the 10-stringed harp, lyre, whatever, all these different types of musical instruments, Ale Novel, right? And it lists, first of all, it says Ale Asor, which is it's specifically 10-stringed instrument. A hint to this 10 aspects of song, first of all. And then this last half of that pasuk says, Ki simachtani Hashem b'fa'alecha, because Hashem, you have made me happy with your works. Meaning, the David HaMelech is telling us that in one pasuk, he's talking about these 10 types of song, 10 types of music that go together with being happy. Ki simachtani, right? You made me happy. So this is a statement, and it's a proof from a pasuk, but it's something that we all know, that music does something to us. If you ever thought like the effect that music has on you emotionally, right? The difference between watching a movie without music or with music, right? It's like night and day. Music in a movie, in a soundtrack, right? It adds, I don't know, a gigantic portion of the emotion, of the suspense, of the whole theatrics of everything comes from the music. Or even funnier is if you ever see pictures of people dancing without music. It's insanity.
I do it now.
It's crazy.
No.
I'm dating myself over here, but in the 80s, there was a movie called Amadeus.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I love that movie.
Great movie. It's about Mozart and who is whatever. Anyway, so in one part of the movie, so the I don't know, the leader, it's in Germany. Whoever the leader is, the king, I don't know, chancellor, whatever he is, the head guy, president, whatever he is, of Germany, they outlawed ballet in their operas. They didn't want ballet in the operas. And for whatever reason, I think they wanted something to be more German, whatever. And so what did they do? In the middle of this opera, they continued, they had the dancing, but they just stopped the music, because then it's not considered ballet anymore. And the king or whatever came in and he saw that they're just doing the dance steps without the music. And he was like, what is happening? He's like, do people like this? And his advisors are like, no, it's not, no one likes it. It's not good. And anyway, they put the ballet back in. But what did you see? You saw how ridiculous it is to see people dancing without music, right? Music animates us. Music gives us something. It has a huge effect on us. Okay, so, and then we have these 10 types of song. We know this corresponds to the Tikkun Klali that Rabbi Nachman compiled, the 10 Kapitelach of Tehillim. They're all, each one of them are one of these 10 types of song that this whole Sefer Tehillim is made of. So the Tikkun Klali encompasses the entire Sefer Tehillim and encompasses all types of song. That's one of the special things about the Tikkun Klali. Okay, and get your Breslov of Thornhill and Breslov Burns of Fire Tikkun Klali that we have available. We'll put it on this video for you to link. You can get it from Amazon or come to my house and get it for free. Okay, let's go weiter. So let's see. So he told us that all illness comes from a problem with simcha. So let's see how this is going to work out. So many things to say here. Ve'elu yud mine negina. These 10 types of song, they come within the 10 types of pulses that a person has. And then they enliven those pulses that a person has. Therefore, when there's I need a good word for kilkul. There's a blemish or a destruction or a blemish in the simcha, which is this aspect of the 10 types of song. Happiness is the 10 types of song. Then what comes is an illness from these 10 types of pulses that we have in our bodies. That these pulses were weakened or see what he says. They have developed a fault because of the lack of simcha, which is lacking because we messed up the 10 types of song. When we removed these 10 types of song and which is 10 types of simcha from ourselves, it affects our inner pulses, meaning the actual pulses of the body, the heart pulses of the body, the blood flowing through our bodies, and simcha, and that causes illness. When our body is not flowing properly, right, it causes illnesses to happen. So, okay, so a couple of ideas over here.
So if you're talking about food, something that's kind of spoiled.
Spoiled. That's a good word. Spoiled when one of perfect. So when one of the kilkul of the simcha is when the simcha becomes spoiled.
Yeah.
Right? Great word. Beautiful word. Okay, I want to show you something, guys. Over here. So, this is from a quick Google search today. But, so, first of all, you might be wondering, what is this inyan of these 10 types of pulses, right? And you might think, like, I know, I go to the doctor, and they check my heart rate. That's it. They're not checking 10 types of pulses. What's the story over here? What are we talking about? So it happens to be in older times, in ancient wisdom. So they had such a thing, where they would be able to feel the pulses of people, and through feeling the pulses of people, be able to diagnose what their illnesses are. Yeah. So and also in Kabbalah they have such a thing, but it's like a known thing. And I looked today because I saw that Reb Chaim Kramer mentioned that in Chinese medicine, they have these 10 pulses, and they use it to what's called pulse diagnoses. Mm-hmm. So that means they're able to feel pulses, and they're able to, through this, to diagnose whatever's going on in the person's body. So I found this in traditional Chinese medicine. The term 10 pulses refers to a categorization of pulse characteristics used to diagnose various conditions and imbalances within the body. While there are over 20 to 30 described pulse types, these 10 are considered foundational and are commonly used in practice. So then he lists a bunch of these different types of pulses that all contribute to the diagnoses that can be done through feeling the pulses in Chinese medicine. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So what are we saying now? Well, so why am I bringing this? You can go back there. You can sit here if you want. It's up to you. Why am I bringing this thing about Chinese medicine? It's not that we don't believe Rabbi Nachman when he's telling us this, right? But sometimes, it helps us to be able to understand, from outside sources that the depth of the body, and that this is something that was like known in the world. You know, this is not something that is just all of a sudden Rabbi Nachman saying it, which we could believe anyway, right? But we see it's just in our modern sort of Western scientific minds, they don't use this. You don't go into the doctor and he feels your pulse and says, "Oh, I feel you have a floating pulse, or a soggy pulse, or an empty pulse, or a leathery pulse, a scattered pulse, hollow pulse, deep pulse, firm pulse, hidden pulse, long pulse." All these different types of pulses that could be detected, that they used to do. He brings down over here Reb Chaim that Reb Chaim Vital said about the Arizal, that the Arizal was able to feel a person's pulse and could understand everything about the person's spiritual nature. Could discern the maladies of the soul by feeling a person's pulse, right? So there's something very, very powerful in the pulse, and Kabbalah teaches us that there's 10 pulses that Kabbalists are able to use to be able to understand the person. The Arizal used the pulses to be able to understand the person. We see even in Chinese medicine and in other things, there's these 10 pulses that are used. So there is such a thing in the whole wide world, not just by us Jews, as these 10 pulses. And Rabbi Nachman is telling us there's a reason for this. It's because those 10 pulses determine our physical makeup. They determine our state of physical health. And Rabbi Nachman is telling us, and don't think that that's not connected to our state of happiness, to our state of mind and our state of emotion. But no, when our simcha is in proper form, and those 10 asara mine negina, those 10 aspects of song, which are the 10 aspects of happiness and healthiness, when they are pumping and they're moving, right? Then our pulses are moving the way they're supposed to move, things are flowing the way they're supposed to flow, and we end up in a state of spiritual and physical health and happiness because of this, right? So we have this inyan. We have this inyan of music. We have this inyan of dance, right? The first Torah of these two that we were learning talked about the Kishe B'nei Adam Smeichim U'Marakdim, right? Dancing and singing and music is all an aspect of simcha, right? So here's another Google search today. Listen to this, just in case we wanted more of a modern scientific proof. This is an AI overview from Google, but a sedentary lifestyle characterized by prolonged periods of inactivity can lead to a range of health issues, including an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and mental health problems like depression and anxiety, right? So, and this you can find on any medical journal, Mayo Clinic, anyone you want to look, you'll find this, right? Everybody knows this. If you don't move and you stay on the couch, it's going to make you sick. It's just the way it is. I have unfortunately known people in my life who developed type 2 diabetes because of being sedentary for years and years and years. And they didn't need to have it. It didn't need to happen, right? So, why am I saying this? Because I see something awesome and big in this Torah. In this lesson, I see this idea of movement. From the very beginning of Torah Chav Gimel, of 23, we started with the dancing, right? And remember what we said over there? We said that it was the derech of the Atzvus and Mar Shachara, La Moed Min Atzad. The way of sadness and depression is not to move, is to stand in one place, right? So what do? You got to bring it into the dance and get it moving, right? But lack of movement is simcha. Movement is dance. And it's so much deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that. Because like we said over there in Torah Chav Gimel also, that but when we're roidvin achar mar shachara, when we chase after the sadness to bring it in, we had this chiddush, I think is a good chiddush, that as soon as you start chasing it, then it's bareach, then it runs away. As soon as the simcha starts chasing the sadness, then it runs away. But what does it do? Because we're pulling it in, you're chasing it and it's running. You're chasing it, it's running. You know what it does? It just becomes part of the dance. If we leave the sadness to the side and we don't try to chase it and pull it into our simcha, it's just going to stand there and be sad and depressed and grow. But when we start running after it it runs away. We chase it, it goes. Chase it, it goes. It becomes part of our circle dance. It becomes part of our dance. Just the movement, just the chasing, being besimcha and chasing after it, brings it in and turns it into part of the dance. What is that doing? It's like that little drop of oil in the huge ocean. You're bringing it into your ocean. We're bringing that thing into our ocean of happiness. We're just making it part of the dance and part of our movement. And now the movement of our lives with simcha eats it up, nullifies it, and just makes it part of it. And, oh, there's so much more to say. So much awesome stuff to say. So this we see already. It's in our bodies. The movement is there. When our pulses are flowing the way they're supposed to flow. When things are moving the way they're supposed to move. Right? That means, that puts us into a state of happiness. So the music is moving. The dancing is moving. Our heart is pumping. Our bodies are moving. Right? And our relationship with our challenges is constantly moving. That is one big cycle of movement that creates simcha in our lives, right? And if you have, sometimes we might be in a situation, people get into such a mind frame, where we have something that's bothering us, or something that's challenging us. And for whatever reason, we hold on to it, we keep it. And we almost like don't want to let it go. You have that thing that bothers you. It's like there's some people, they figure out a question that sounds like a smart question, and they love to ask this question, but they're not interested in answers at all. And you can almost see if someone starts trying to say an answer to their question, they even start to tune out with a big smile on their face. I asked my question. Now they start to tune out because they're not really interested. They love having this question, right? In an unhealthy way. There's questions that we like to keep with us in a healthy way sometimes, right? But and you can have of course you can have a trauma. You can have a some type of thing that's been pulling you down for a long time, and sometimes it's easier, or we want to hold on to it. We want to keep it with us, as opposed to trying to bring it in to be part of this movement of all of this of life. The movement of our pulses, the movement of music, the movement of songs, the movement of me chasing after happiness and sadness all together. Right? When it's part of a movement, part of a chase, it becomes something. So where else do you see this? In such an awesome way. Reb Nosson says this in the Likutei Moharan over here. It's so fantastic and amazing. And he says like this. He says that another place you see this concept. And by the way, Reb Nosson says, we spoke about this in one of the first shiurim, but it's always about going down to a place where it's lower and pulling that thing up with us. That's like the guy pulling the sad person into the circle of the dance. We're always pulling the low thing into the simcha. We're pulling our sadness into the simcha, right? So Reb Nosson says over there also, this unbelievable idea that fits so amazingly with what we're talking about, which is that this is exactly what music is, right? Music is, pretty much by definition, music is movement, right? Every piece of music has a time signature. Every piece of music has a tempo, has a beat that it goes to, right? Maybe there's some very, very minor exceptions, but not really. Right? Every music has movement, it has a beat, it has something going for it. And it doesn't just stay in one spot. If you took one note and you played it over and over again at the same beat, right? It's not going to fly. You're not going to sign a record deal doing this. Right? Every piece of music, besides for its intrinsic movement of its beat and its rhythm, it also it moves up and down in its melodies. Right? The melodies go up and down in the song. Not only that, the melodies move up and down, right? But not only that, but the structure of the song changes, right? You have a part of a song, like in a standard pop song, you have an introduction maybe, you have like a verse and a chorus, and then the verse is kind of normal, the chorus is bigger and happier usually, whatever, depending on what type of song. But then it's going to go to the part that's called either a bridge or a refrain or a breakdown, where it pulls it back down, right? And then after that, it comes out again in the end. This is like a cookie cutter type of song. It comes out again in the end, big chorus for the finish, right? But it's that bridge in the middle, that refrain, that breakdown that creates this tension that allows us to take that and then bring it back up into the full chorus. Music does this. All types of music does this. It moves in many different ways. It has movement. In like at least, I can think of now at least like 4 aspects, 5 aspects probably, in rhythm, in tempo, speed, harmonically, the ups and downs of the tunes, dynamically, the volumes getting louder and quieter, and structurally, in the whole structure of the song, at least 5 ways music is made up of movement, right? And the movement, right? Derech atzvus mar shechora la moed. Sadness likes to stand in one spot and stay there. Simcha is movement, is dancing, singing, music, movement. Vibrational, says Lori. Oh, yes, 100%. 100%. And this is our whole lives, We talk about this idea. Here's one more thing. One more way. This is super awesome. I've been working on this concept for a long time. I haven't fully fleshed it out yet, but I might have said it a few times. But our whole lives, we're going through kind of ups and downs, right? This is what our life is about. We kimat every week or every month or every couple months. Every day sometimes, depending on what's going on with us, right? So we go up and then we have to come down. And then we go up again and we have to come down again. And we keep going up and down. What does that look like? The heartbeat. It's a heartbeat, but it's also a waveform. Yeah. It's the form of a sound wave. Up and down, up and down. Our whole life really is a musical note. Depending on how our ups and downs go, our Lori sparked my thought of this because she said vibrational, right? That is if you hear a bird chirping in high pitch, why is it a high pitch, or how do you see that in a sound wave? It's going to be a very, very low wavelength, right? And a big, deep bass note is going to be much, much bigger waves like this, right? And the bigger you get, the huger the note is, the lower it is, the vibrational frequency, and you can't even hear it, but it's there. So in a certain sense, our life itself is creating some type of vibration in the world through its pulse, through its notes, through its wavelength. We're projecting a note out into existence just through our lives. It's wild thought, right? Totally crazy. But that's it. It's movement, up and down, right? And if we stay down, you know what happens? It doesn't make a noise. You have to go up and down to have a waveform, right? If you stay down, you're toast. Nothing's coming from that. That's derech atzvus mar shechora. That's the way of sadness, to stand in one spot and not to move. So do you hear this? The power of movement? Oh. So we're talking about sedentary lifestyle. We're talking about getting up and moving, getting up and exercising. So, unfortunately, I'm sure if we haven't all experienced it ourselves, I'm sure we know someone who has, that there's such a thing. When a person gets very sad, that they sometimes don't leave the house for a long time, right? Whether it's a clinical depression or a certain period of sadness, whatever you want to call it. And this person is stuck in bed, stuck on the couch, doesn't want to leave, doesn't get up, right? And there's no movement. There's no movement happening. And the sadness is palpable. And then the person invariably starts to feel unwell, get sick. A depressed person is sick all the time. These all are related. There's no movement, there's no pulse, there's no happiness, there's no health. It's all interconnected in an amazing way. So sometimes, the best thing we can do when we're in such a bad state, or we know someone who is get up, go for a walk. Why don't you join me? Let's go for a walk. I sometimes take people out here to the forest in Thornhill Woods. Say, when a person really needs to talk, I say, you know what? Let's go for a walk. And we go and we walk around and talk in there. Get up, move, start movement, start talking, start thinking. See the trees blowing in the wind and the noise they're making. There's movement out there also. I know I sound like a totally crazy person right now, but movement, I'm telling you, this is a huge part of this Torah. I'm loving it. And the 10 types of song are enlivening our 10 types of heartbeat and just enlivening us and keeping us in a healthy state. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. So he says, next, V'hasimcha hi refuah gedolah. Simcha is, when? Did we miss this? Kol mine cholas kalulim beyud mine defakim. All types of illness are included within these 10 pulses that we have. V'chein kol mine nigunim kalulim beyud mine nigina. And so too, all types of song in the universe fit into the categories of these 10 types of song. U'kafi kilkol hasimcha v'anigun. And according to the way that your simcha and your happiness and your song is spoiled, chen ba chelas, so too comes illness. If we spoil our happiness and we spoil our song, right, we're going to bring illness onto ourselves. V'gam chachmei haroifim he'erichu b'zeh. And he says, Rabbi Nachman, also the professors who know about medicine, medical professors, they speak about this a lot. This concept, this is a known concept, as we showed. Shekol hachoilas al yedei mar shechor v'atzvos. That all illness comes from sadness and depression. I'm not sure if they would say all, the professors, but they certainly would acknowledge the connection, no question. So it's all connected. Says the Rebbe, V'asimcha hi refuah gedolah. But happiness is a tremendous healer. Happiness is a tremendous healer. So that's it. Get moving, get besimcha, get the music, get the ups and downs, get everything going. Okay. Remind me, talk about how it fits in, the movement with the dancing and practicality. V'la'asid, his gadol ha-simcha me'od. In the future, the simcha is going to grow tremendously. Valkein, Amar Rabbi says, therefore, Chazal tell us in the Yerushalmi, Asir HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyos rosh chayla letzadikim l'asid lavai. In the future, meaning the Olam Haba, right? So Hashem is going to be, the word is rosh chayla letzadikim. Rosh chayla letzadikim. The real, what it really means to say is he's going to be the head of the circle of the tzaddikim. If you remember, we said that the word for the circle dance in Torah Chav Gimel was mechol, right? We say in Tehillim, hafachta mispedi lemecholi. I transformed my eulogy into a circle dance, right? So mechol is a word for circle, and it's a word for dance, specifically a circle dance. So this pasuk is really, so it's connected. Mechol is very, very similar to, it might be exactly the same, shorish almost, to the word choila, which means a sick person, to be sick. So mechol, circle dance, and sick are like the same words. How could that possibly be? So just to keep an understanding in our mind, we have very often that in the realm of kedusha and in the realm of gematria, that we have this concept of zelu mazeh, right? That just like we have one power on the side of holiness, we have the other power on the side of unholiness, tumah. Just like we have a power by kedusha, we have tumah, and so because it has to have a balance, right? For the sake of free will, let's say. So sometimes you have two things that are exactly the same letters or same gematria, but they mean totally opposite things, right? One of the most famous examples, of course, is one of the mitzvahs we have on Shabbos is to have oineg Shabbos. Oineg means pleasure. We're supposed to have physical pleasure on Shabbos. And how do we accomplish that? By eating delicious food. Oineg Shabbos. Oineg. But you change around those letters and it becomes the word nega, which means the tsaras, skin affliction, which is a state of tumah, right? Oineg on one side, nega on the other side. Same letters, same gematria. Right? You have also the word ra, which is reish ayin. Right? Evil. It also happens to be the same letters as the word rea, a friend. A friend. V'hafta l'reacha kamoicha. Right? So you see, there's a zeh lumazeh. So it maybe helps us understand how there can be the word chayla, sick, can be the same word as machol, which is dance. They're two things on the opposite side that maybe are, but they might be. It might even be more than that though. So let's see. So Hashem is going to make a circle. He's going to be at the head of the circle dance for the tzaddikim. Dahainu, sheyaseh machol v'tzaddikim. He's going to make a circle dance with all the tzaddikim. V'hu yisbarach yeh rosh chayla, and he will be the head of the circle. So now, Rabbi Nachman is not just telling us this, but he's making a connection to the concept of chayla, of illness, of a sick person. Rabbi Nachman says, Ki shechina lamala mirashosav shal chayla. Because the shechina, the divine presence, sits at the head of a sick person. Kamosha Darsha Rabbi Zivach, like Chazal say, Shnei Amar, the Gemara Shabbos, Hashem yisadenu al eres davai. That Hashem will support him from his sickbed. Hashem is there. When you have a person who's very ill, the divine presence is there with them. Because when someone is in a state of tremendous illness, they're not doing well. The only thing sustaining them is Hashem, the divine presence, right? So there's a few halachas that come out here also. So for example, there's a halacha that when you go to visit a sick person, a really sick person, you're not supposed to sit like on the bed where they are. He brings it down here actually, I think Reb Chaim brings it down. Yeah, you shouldn't, so the Halach Brisa, it says in the Gemara, that you shouldn't sit on the bed or a chair. You shouldn't sit when you're visiting a sick person by there. Why? Because the Shekhinah is there. The divine presence is there. So you shouldn't sit. You should be mindful that the divine presence is there. So it's a very interesting thing that where the sick person is, the Shekhinah is there, right? And so, in a certain sense, that's also this Indian of Rosh Chayla. Like Hashem sits at the head of the sick person. Rosh is the head, Chayla is the sick person, and that's where the Shekhinah sits. The Shekhinah is there. The divine presence is there by a sick person. On the other hand, Hashem is called Rosh Chayla because he's leading the dance. Right? He's leading the circle of the dance. Why is it like this? Because at this point now, when you have a sick person, the thing that's keeping him alive is Hashem. Hashem is at the Rosh, the head of that chayla, of that sick person. Right? But what's going to be in the future? Through Simcha, all illness is going to be rectified. Then there's not going to be the divine presence at the head of a sick person. It's going to be the Rosh Chayla. He's going to be leading the Simcha. It's because all the healing is going to come from Hashem. It's going to come through the Simcha. So Hashem is going to be leading the dance of the Simcha, and because of the tremendous Simcha that will be when Mashiach comes, there will be no more illness. Not because there's going to be some magical thing. There's a prophecy was made that there will be no more illness. Okay, true. There'll be no more illness. But you know how it's going to happen? It's going to happen because everybody's going to be in a state of simcha. And when everybody's going to be in a state of simcha, everything's going to be aligned. And there's going to be constant movement. And the pulses are going to be flowing. And nobody is going to be sick because of this. He's going to be leading the dance. Because simcha is an aspect of tikkun ha'chayla. Of simcha fixes our illnesses. That's why simcha and dancing is called by this name of chayla, machol. Because it's the simcha and dancing that fixes the illness. Kihem tikkun hachelas. Because it's the rectification, the healing for illness. Okay, I have to figure out how to say this properly over here, because it's so gewaldic. So, practically speaking, the Rebbe is going to tell us, the next thing he's going to say is that we have to use all of our strength to be b'simcha. We have to make an effort. It's not going to be easy. We have to try our darndest to be b'simcha. We have to make ourselves happy, right? And then when we get ourselves into a state of happiness, now we can pull in our sadness into that place, like we've been saying, and bring it into the dance and bring it into the movement. And through this, create a rectification and a refuah, a healing for the illness and for the sadness, right? But we have to bring it in. We have to pull it in. We know it's there. This thing that's bringing us down, this thing that's making us sad, this challenge that we have, this issue that we have with our relationships, with our children, with our spouses, this issue that we have with our finances, this whatever, it could be illness itself that's pulling us down. We have to take it in to our simcha. And how do we do that? One of the ways that we talked about is by making it part of the ocean. But intellectually, how do we do that? Is we say, you know what? I have so much simcha. I have so much amazing happiness in my life. So many amazing things. That I can afford this. This one thing, I'm going to get through this. You know what? I know tomorrow I'm going to wake up and my eyes are going to be working. Or I know that, in a few weeks from now I'm going to forget about this. I tell this to people all the time. And a few people have told me, this is one thing, people don't remember everything I say. A lot of it goes in one ear out the other. But this one I've heard a number of people say, you told me at one point that I'm going to look back in a few months or in a year, and this is just going to be a blip. It's going to be a blip in the history, right? That blip in the history is that drop of oil in the ocean. It's knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with me in this dance. And knowing that my life is, every moment is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the great things, the awesome things that I'm able to appreciate, I could see Hashem and I could be b'simcha with those. But you know what? Those other things that are challenging, it's also Hashem. It's also meant for me. It's also actually for my good, even though I don't see it. And from the great perspective of my ocean of simcha and my ocean of thankfulness to Hashem, the more I build it, the more I can take that thing and say, oh yeah, I'm just bringing it with me now. I don't feel good about it, but I'm taking it with me because I know that it's part of my ocean. I know that it's meant for me. I know that it's going to be good for me. I don't get it yet, but I know that that's what it is. So right now, I'm taking it with me. And I'm moving forward, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to be happy. I'm bringing it in with that. So you hear what I'm saying? It's knowing that thing is really actually good. It's really actually Hashem. And knowing that it can be nullified within my larger simcha. And then doing it practically by despite feeling pulled down, sad and challenged, actively pursue simcha. Start dancing and pull it with me. Those two things, knowing intellectually and then actively pursuing simcha, right? Which we'll see in a second. That's what's going to allow me to bring the sadness to pull that guy into the dance. That's how I'm going to do it. This is practical. This is the real thing. And I've tried this a few times. And if you don't do the second step, which we're about to talk about, it won't work. But now we see why Lasi Lavo in the future, it's going to be a tremendous simcha, and there's going to be no illness anymore. Why? Because Hashem is going to be the Rosh Chayla. He's going to be the one leading the dance. There's not going to be any thought. Why is this happening to me? There's nothing to pull me down. I'm going to see, the way that I'm fixing it is by saying, really, it's all part of Hashem. And I've built up such a storehouse of simcha, and I'm actively trying to be simcha, that thing can come with me. And it'll get lost in here. Right? And I don't have to worry and think that that's something that's pulling me down. And I don't have to actively and know that I have to. I have to say that that's also Hashem. But in the future, in Olam Haba, Hashem's leading the dance. There's no space for any thought of anything other than perfection and simcha. There's not going to be any doubts. There's no room for a challenge. There's no room for sadness. Because we see everything so clearly. Hashem is the Rosh Chil. Hashem's leading the dance. He's there. It's all one. Right? And we're going to look back. This is going back to Torah Nun Vav that we learned a while ago. But we're going to look back and see how everything in my life, because now Hashem's leading the dance, we're going to see how everything really was 100% Hashem. He's leading us now. He's leading the dance. Anyway, this is the way I understand these two things connecting over here. I'm not saying that's what Rabbi Nachman's saying. That's the way I understand it, right? But it's so awesome. So now we need these two things. How do we do it? The next thing he says, Vaklal. This is a very famous Breslov idea now. That I don't know who else you hear this from, right? And we have to talk about it. Vaklal. The principle is, person has to strengthen themselves a lot with all of their strengths. Liyos ach sameach tamid. To be only happy all the time. Tamid. Ki teva ha'adam, because it's the nature of a person, limshoich atzmoi lamar shechor va'atzvus. To pull oneself to sadness and gloominess, machmas pigmei umikre hazman. Because of pigmei umikre hazman. Because of, I'll tell you how Reb Chaim Kramer translates this, because of life's vicissitudes and misfortunes. Right? Pigre umikre hazman. So, pigay is a word, it can be used for two things. It can be used for things that you encounter, and it can be used also for things that hurt you. This shorish. Right? So these things that I encounter in my life that cause me pain. Mikre hazman. The happenings of time. Oh my gosh, how many times have we been pulled down by stress? Have we been out of our minds because of the stresses of time? Because of deadlines, or because there's too many things in one period of time. Right? So many things. I'm telling you, I had this yesterday. I thought I was going to go crazy. I was like, I'm working in the winery, and one machine broke, another machine broke, and I have this huge shipment to our biggest customer that has to go out the next day, and I don't know how it's going to happen. And then I get a call from this person who's experiencing this one problem. This person over here, there's a problem with the school, there's a problem with this. I'm telling you, like 10 things happened in one afternoon, and I was like about to lose my mind, right? I was thinking about this very Torah, and I was like, this is pigeu mikra hazman. This is exactly what it is. This thing has to be shipped tomorrow, and if it doesn't go tomorrow, and then I have to fix this machine, and how am I going to do it? It's not going to happen, and stress, and this person and that person. Pigeu mikra hazman. It drives us crazy, right? Leading up into a trip or a holiday or something, you have to prepare everything. There's a reason why. There's a tremendous Yetzer Hara in the house, Erev Shabbos. There's a spiritual reason. But beyond that, there's a practical reason. Everybody's rushing to get ready for Shabbos. Everybody's on edge. You know why? Because that is also pigeu mikra hazman. This drives us crazy. So this kind of thing, because of this, now listen to the words he says. Teva ha'adam, it's the nature of a person, limshoich atzmai, not to be pulled, to pull himself. It's our nature to pull ourselves to sadness and gloominess because of pigeu mikra hazman. It's our nature to go through these times and then to pull ourselves down, to go down to woe is to me, to get into the victimhood mentality, and to be, oh, poor me, I have this. I'm not making fun, right? But to pull ourselves down and to feel pain and sadness in such a place. This is what happens to us. V'chein, v'chol adam mali yisurim. Every person is filled with yisurim. What's yisurim? Suffering and pain. Every single person is filled with suffering and pain. Al kain. So what do? Al kain, sarich lahachriach es atzmai. We have to force ourselves. By the way, this is the same wording as the first one. We have to pull that guy into the circle of the dance. And to force him to be happy with us. A person has to force himself, b'koyach gadol, with tremendous strength, liyos b'simcha tamid, to be happy all the time, l'sameach es atzmai b'chol asher yuchal, and to make himself happy with whatever he can. This is the big Breslov one now. V'afilu b'milei d'shtusa, even with things of silliness. Right? So before we get to things of silliness. This is what's going to happen. We're going to encounter things in our lives. and they often are going to have to do with time. And we're going to start to be pulled down this path, and then we're going to want to go down that path. We're going to want to make our own pity party for ourselves, right? Make ourselves the guest of honor at our own pity party, right? That's what we're going to want to do. And he's telling us, the Rebbe is telling us, this is exactly our nature. And every single person has this. So what do we have to do? We have to counter it with the second step of our plan over here, which is to force ourselves to be besimcha. Force ourselves to be happy in any way possible, afilu b'milei d'shtusa, even with things of silliness. So what does that mean? What does things of silliness mean? Some of the examples that we see is, tell a funny joke, right? Jump up and down. Start singing and dancing. Start singing and dancing, right? Just do whatever you can to get happy. Start clapping the hands and sing a song. Right? Do what you have to do to get happy, whatever it is, to get yourself happy. Why? Because if we're not happy, we're going to be pulled down by that sadness and gloominess, and we're going to be gone for weeks. Right? He says over here something crazy that we're going to see. We're going to see in a second, but he says basically that the dangers that we face when we find ourselves in a place of sadness is so much worse than the potential danger of being silly, which could lead to some frivolous behavior. The other side is much, much, much worse, right? So he says it's imperative that we get ourselves happy, because it's only when we get ourselves happy that we're able to do this whole thing that we're talking about, which is to draw that in and to draw the sadness in and to make it part of the dance, to make it part of the movement. The happiness is going to give us movement. It's going to give us the movement that this whole Torah is talking about. It's going to get our limbs moving. It's going to get our emotions moving. It's going to get our hearts pumping. It's going to get all those pulses flowing and moving. It's going to get our health moving. It's going to get so many things moving. It's going to be incredible, right? So it's imperative. It's a must. We got to put all our energy into it, and even do silly things to get happy. You hear this? It's so important. I don't recall seeing Rabbi Nachman ever stress. I don't know the whole Rabbi Nachman off by heart, the whole Likutei Moharan off by heart, but I don't recall ever Rabbi Nachman putting so much stress into something that we have to do. Force oneself, b'koyach gadol, right? B'chol asher yuchal, in every possible way he can. I don't think I've ever seen it before. Because it's so important, and the opposite, the other side is unacceptable. So a person has to be careful. Milei d'shtusa. We can't go crazy. It doesn't mean, go and take a night, go to the casino and gamble your money. That's not what it means, right? It doesn't mean that's not what it means. It doesn't mean go and buy a whole bunch of alcohol and drink yourself into temporary happiness. That's not what it means. That's not milei d'shtusa. That is, worse. That's unacceptable, right? But so obviously we can't bring ourselves to a place of tumah. We can't do things that are going to pull us down into a negative place, right? You can't go out and be like, I need to go and I'm not going to say, right? Not things that are going to put us into and make us do averas and put us into places of spiritual filth. No. But you know what? Make a joke. Dance a little bit, sing a little bit, dance a little bit. Go, you like to shoot some basketball, if that's your thing. Pull out the guitar, play some music, sing a little bit, right? What do you have? Go for a walk. Go for a walk and see the trees. Call up one of your friends that you have a particularly silly relationship with, that as soon as you start talking to them, funny jokes are going to be going back and forth, and get the simcha flowing. Do what we have to do. Because it's the key to everything. It's the key to spiritual, emotional, and physical health, is to be besimcha. Because that is a state of movement and a state of spiritual health. That is a rikud. It's a dance, right? Even the process of being happy. You're out and moving. You're kind of dancing, right? What happens when you allow yourself to be pulled down into Atzos Mar Shachor because of Pigi or Mikra Zman? What happens? You become a lump. A lump on a log? lump on a log, lump on a log. You're just sitting there and you're thinking bad thoughts, you're thinking sad thoughts, you're not moving, you're not accomplishing, you're digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper for ourselves. Right? This is what happens. So Rabbi Nachman is telling us not to do like this. He says over here, just a quick quote from Rabbi Nachman's wisdom, which I think is Likutei Moharan. Says, when you are always happy, this is in the BRI version of it, when you're always happy, it is easy to set aside some time each day to express your thoughts before God with a broken heart. But when you are depressed, it is very difficult to isolate yourself and speak to God. You must force yourself always to be happy, especially during prayer. The Rebbe said that true happiness is one of the most difficult things to attain in serving God. Another time, he said that it seems impossible to achieve happiness without some measure of foolishness. One must resort to all sorts of foolish things if this is the only way to attain happiness. When a person attains true joy, then God himself watches him and protects him. So, maybe we can just be happy. But if not, we can't be afraid to do something silly, and it's worth it. It's worth it. It's going to save our day, save our week, save our month, who knows. Okay, so next week, we'll for sure finish this whole lesson because we're almost finished now. But tremendous practical life lessons from this Torah. And if you ever wondered why it is that it seems that Breslov puts a special emphasis on being happy, on simcha, this is it. And it is mamish emes. I know for myself, I have experienced this so strongly in my life, that when I allow myself to get into a place of sadness, and I don't try to break out of it and to try to get happy in that place, I could wallow in that place for a while. And it's not good. We got to get up and get happy and get besimcha, and right away our life changes. It's like a hischadrus. It's like an absolute renewal that can get us moving, can get us doing good things, positive things, doing amazing things in the world. It's mamish unbelievable. Okay, guys, I got to run to Ma'ariv. Any comments before we wrap up here?